took the sederant for this meeting of the Clydesdale Area Committee held on the 15th of November 2023. So I can see that we have all members of the Clydesdale Area Committee present, other than Councillor Ralph Barker, for whom I have apologies. We also have a number of officers present in the meeting today, and we have Maureen Farr from Education, and I'm just highlighting that as Maureen's card's not working, so her name won't appear on screen. So really just for those at home, I'll hand back to yourself, Chair.
Thanks, Carol. So we'll start the business. So the first item is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Julia.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, item 4, B, Kirkfield Bank United, and C, Braehead Lunch and Leisure Club, with a connection to group participants.
Thanks, Julia. Okay, so we've got the minutes of the previous meeting. That's pages 3 to 6. Agreement for those minutes, been a correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 3, the participatory budget, education resources, pupil equity funding, pages 7 to 18, and Maureen Farr will speak to this report. Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm here to give you an update on participatory budgeting within our South Lanarkshire schools. In the last session, 22 to 23, before the summer holidays, the head teachers were informed that PB would continue into this session, and they were asked to allocate a minimum of 5% of their 23-24 PEF allocation and identify a staff member to lead and facilitate this activity in their schools. Schools were informed the principles and practices of PB are applicable across their full PEF allocation as per the national guidelines, and schools were therefore encouraged to put aside more than the recommended 5% where possible. And in fact, if you average out the 39 schools, the average was 7% across the Clydesdale schools. On the 21st of August 23, a PB event was held online on Teams, and it was delivered to head teachers and PB leads who felt that they might need a refresh or were new to the position. Head teachers and PB leads were briefed on the process and taken through a PowerPoint presentation which outlined the learning from last session, signposting resources and good practice examples from previous years. The PowerPoint presentation was shared with all schools thereafter through the PB Teams page. And following this, head teachers identified the percentage of their 23-24 PEF allocation they wanted to allocate to PB this period. They were asked to submit this information to Education Resources in their profile of spend on the 31st of August. The PB Teams page continues to facilitate the sharing of good practice across schools, as well as providing live, ongoing support to PB leads. So this session since August, schools within the Clydesdale area have allocated £86,482.74, which is approximately 6% of their £1,435,165 PEF allocation. Appendix 1 shows a breakdown of this for each of the learning communities. Appendix 2 summarises the percentage of PEF allocation that schools have allocated for participatory budgeting. 74% of schools have allocated the minimum of 5%. That equates to 29 schools. And 26% of schools, or 10 schools, have allocated more than this. A further school-by-school breakdown is outlined in Appendix 3. The PB stakeholder groups, which comprise of pupils, parents and staff, are currently, when this report was written, they were currently leading the process. Most of them have concluded up to choosing what their project is going to be. And the outcome for each school was due to be reported to Education Resources via a Google form by the 9th of October. The majority of schools have now reported on what their stakeholders chose as their PB outcome, and these can be found in Appendix 4. As can be seen, many schools will be using the money for school educational excursions, which reflects the high value schools and their stakeholders place on making these affordable for all. All information is correct at the time of reporting, and 2 schools now have their final findings to be submitted, and these will be reported on at a later date. Following this, Education Resources will provide the area committees with case studies of school activity, which has had particular impact or success ongoing throughout the year. And in fact, what we intend to do is invite a head teacher the next time I come to report, who can give a report on the impact PB has made in their school. We'll detail the local authority financial report of how PEF money was allocated for PB and how that's been spent, and that'll happen in May, June. Education Resources will support schools with implementation of this and monitor and track the impact of this activity. Findings will inform any future PB activity within Education Resources. Regular updates and the highlighting of good practice will be communicated to schools via the Equity Hub and through our @SLC Equity Twitter handle. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Maureen. Does any member have a question or something they want to say? Councillor Logan.
Thanks, Chair. I know through working with schools in my area, they've all worked very hard to try and engage with parents, pupils, teachers, and I know particularly the high school, which is maybe no rare, but they worked very hard to try and bring in parents who normally don't come to see parent councils and things, so, and that was a very good thing. But when you're talking about tracking, or not tracking, but you know, auditing or whatever, does the final audit then go to Scottish Government? Or where does it finally end up? If they're, you know, what's the final product? The audit's done. If you say we're going to do X, Y, Z, then they have to say, right, it's done, we've spent the money wisely and whatever. So does it go anywhere else apart from SLC?
There was a big audit undertaken last year for the last year's PEF budget. This is the first year that I've actually had responsibility for this remit, so I'm not entirely sure whether that happens every year or not, but I can find out and get back to you.
Fine, thank you very much. I don't see anybody else with their hands up. So I'd like to thank you, Maureen, for your presentation. And you may leave now, very short and sweet. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the community grant applications, pages 19 to 22. And Carol, if you want to take us through that, and you can deal with the declarations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is our regular community grant application report that comes to committee. We only have 4 community grants on the agenda this time around. And as you'll see in section 5, so our total allocation for the grants was £25,750. We have already allocated 8,150. Within this report itself, we are recommending grants of £1,300, and that leaves a remaining balance of £16,300. Councillor Mars has declared an interest in items B and C. So if we could ask Councillor Mars, could you leave just now? We'll deal with those 2 items and then we'll call you back in. Okay, that's Councillor Mars now left the meeting. So if we can first of all take item B, which is Kirkfield United Football Club, 2011 Whites. Purpose of the grant is an outing and the recommendation is £300.
Is everybody happy with that? Yeah, I don't see anybody saying anything different, so that's agreed. Seconded? Rose?
Seconded, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And item C is Braehead Lunch and Leisure Club at 4th. Purpose of the grant is outing and entrance fees, and the recommendation is £350.
Again, I don't see any hands up, so I'll agree that.
Seconded, thanks.
Thank you. And we can bring in Julia again, thanks.
Yeah, if you give us just a wee minute, we'll... Okay, the email has been sent. Not yet back with us, no. No.
Do you just send her a message to say?
She gets an email sent so that she knows when to come back in. So
We're waiting for it to get back in.
yeah. That's her back, yeah.
That's Julia back. Welcome back, Julia. They were both approved as the papers. Cal, if you want to go on with A and D, thanks.
Yeah, okay, so item A, Chair, is Cooter Women's Rural Institute. Purpose of the grant is outing and entrance fees, and the recommendation is £350.
I don't see anybody having their hand up, so I'll agree that amount, thanks.
Seconded.
Thank you. And item D is Colburn Homing Club. Purpose of the grant is administration and publicity costs, and the recommendation is £300.
Again, I don't see any hands up, so I'll agree that.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
So that concludes the report on the community grant applications. This could be the quickest area committee ever. So I have no other urgent business. So I'd like to thank you for attending today, and I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Thank you.